The hunt begins. The jungle was quiet, but her heartbeat was loud. Liari ran barefoot over roots and sharp rocks. Her skin was scratched, and her breath came out fast and shaky. Leaves slapped her face as she pushed forward, deeper into the wild trees. Behind her, the sound of buzzing drones and snarling beasts filled the night. They were close. Too close. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Looking back meant slowing down, and slowing down meant death. She was being hunted. Liari was not a beast, not an animal, but her people treated her like one. She had done nothing wrong, only born with different blood. Her tribe believed she was impure, unfit to live among them. So they tied a tracker to her ankle and set her loose in the jungle. A hunt, a game. They called it the Trial of Fire, but for her it was just death with a fancy name. The trees glowed faint blue in the dark. The jungle was strange, half alive, half dreaming. Some plants hissed as she passed, others whispered in alien tongues. But she ignored them all. Her only focus was to escape. Suddenly, her legs gave out. She fell hard, face first into the dirt. Her body shook. She had not eaten in 2 days. She hadn't slept in 3. She tried to rise, but a sharp zap hit her from behind. Psss. A net of energy wrapped around her, glowing orange. She screamed as her muscles locked. She dropped again, helpless, trapped. Footsteps approached. 4 hunters came out of the shadows, tall and cruel. They wore black armor, their faces covered with masks that looked like grinning skulls. One held a long staff with a blade on the end. Another held a control tablet. "She made it farther than the last one," said the leader, laughing coldly, "but not far enough." "Should we kill her here?" asked another, "or take her back?" "Let the dogs finish her," said the third. "It's cleaner." They turned to go, leaving the net pulsing around her. Liari closed her eyes. Her body hurt, her heart ached. She had no more strength. Then a voice cut through the night. "Let her go." It wasn't a growl. It wasn't a threat. It was calm, deep, human. The hunters froze. They turned. From between 2 thick trees, a man stepped forward. He wore a dust-covered jacket, simple boots, and a wide-brimmed hat. His face was weathered but strong. A strange metal device glowed on his wrist. He looked like no soldier. He didn't carry a gun. But he stood tall. And his eyes, they burned with something sharp and dangerous. "Who are you?" the leader asked. "Name's Eli Walker," the man said. "I was passing through, saw your drones, didn't like what I saw." "This is not your business, human," the hunter said. "She is our prey." "She's a girl," Eli replied. "Not a beast. Take your drones and get lost." The hunter raised his staff. "You are trespassing. We are within our rights to end you." Eli's hand moved fast. The device on his wrist blinked, and in an instant, a bright pulse shot out. Boom! The hunter's staff exploded into pieces. The other hunters jumped back, weapons up. But Eli didn't move again. His hand rested calmly on the device. "Try me," he said. The leader looked at the net, then back at the human. "She's marked," he said coldly. "She'll only bring you trouble." "I'll take my chances," Eli said. The hunters stared for a moment longer. Then, angry but careful, they backed away into the jungle. Silence returned. Eli knelt beside the net. Liari watched him with wide, scared eyes. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't answer. He took out a small tool and carefully disabled the net. The glow faded, and the strands dropped to the ground. She tensed. "I won't force you," Eli said. "But I have food, water, shelter." She looked at him, really looked, for the first time. His face was tired, but kind. His hands were strong but gentle. Then slowly her body gave in. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. He lifted her in his arms, light as air. Her skin was hot with fever. She was shaking. "This galaxy's full of monsters," he whispered. "But you're not one of them." As the stars blinked above the trees, Eli carried her toward his ship, not knowing the storm he had just stepped into. But one thing was already clear. The hunt had just begun. The human's decision. The ship's door hissed open, and warm yellow light poured out into the night. Eli stepped inside, carrying the unconscious alien girl in his arms. His boots thudded against the metal floor. The ship was small, old, and filled with tools and scrap parts. But it was safe. He laid her gently on the medical bed in the corner. She didn't wake up. Her breathing was uneven. Her face was pale under the dirt and blood. Around her ankle, the cruel metal tracker still blinked. Red Eli stared at it. "What did they do to you?" he whispered. He opened his med kit, cleaned her cuts, and injected her with a healing serum. It wasn't advanced, but it would stop infection. Still, it would take more than medicine to heal her spirit. Her body flinched in her sleep, like she was still running, even now. Eli sat down beside her and sighed. He had seen terrible things in his life: wars, slavery, betrayal. But this felt different. She wasn't just another victim. There was something strange and strong inside her. Even in her weakest moment, she had tried to run. She had fought until her body gave up. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his old comm tab. The screen flickered. Should I report this? He asked himself. He could contact the Intergalactic Patrol, let them deal with the tribal hunters. Maybe they'd punish them, maybe not. Justice was slow in this part of the galaxy and often for sale, but if he stayed silent, they'd come again. Maybe with more weapons, maybe with less patience. The girl stirred on the bed. Her eyes blinked open slowly, bright gold under long lashes. She tried to sit up, then winced. Her hand grabbed the edge of the bed like she was ready to run again. "Easy," Eli said, raising his hands. "You're safe here." Her eyes scanned the room like a trapped animal. She saw the ship, the tools, the walls. Then him. She froze. "I didn't tie you down," Eli said gently. "You can leave any time. Doors unlocked." She didn't. "Move. You're hurt. You need rest. I gave you medicine." Still silent. He stood and walked to the food shelf. He opened a warm packet of protein soup and placed it on the small table near her bed. Steam rose from it. "Eat if you want. I'll be in the cockpit." As he turned, he heard something. Very soft. "Why?" He stopped. He turned slowly. She was staring at him, her golden eyes shining in the dim light. "Why? Did you help me?" she asked again. Her voice was raspy, unused. Eli thought for a moment. "Because I couldn't walk away." "No one helps the hunted," she said. "I'm not no one," he replied. She looked at the soup. Her hands shook as she reached out. She sipped. Just one small spoonful, then another. Eli sat down, again not too close. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Liari." "Liari," he repeated. "Pretty name." She said nothing. Outside, the jungle roared. The wind howled like the cries of beasts. Somewhere far away, a drone beeped. Eli turned to his ship console. His sensors blinked. A red dot pulsed on the screen. "They're tracking us," he muttered. He looked at the tracker on Liari's ankle again. "We need to get that off." She pulled her leg back like he was going to hurt her. "I won't cut you," he promised, "but that thing's telling them where we are." He showed her his tool, a laser cutter with a steady handguard. "Can I?" he asked. She nodded, very slowly. Eli knelt beside the bed and carefully worked. The cutter buzzed softly. Sparks danced. The metal lock fell to the floor with a clink. The red light on the screen blinked once more, then stopped. "We've got time," Eli said. "But not much." Liari looked at him. They'll come for you now. Because of me. I've had worse enemies, he said with a small smile. Her eyes softened, just a little. She reached into her torn dress and pulled out a tiny locket, scratched and broken. My brother, she whispered. They killed him first. Eli didn't ask for more, he didn't need to. I'm sorry, he said quietly. She nodded, clutching the locket. Silence filled the room. Then Eli stood. Get some rest. We move at first light. I know a place off-grid. No scanners, no patrols, you'll be safe there. Why are you doing this? She asked again. Eli paused at the door. Because someone should, he said. And no one else will. The girl who didn't speak. The ship flew low over the jungle, its engines quiet and smooth. Eli kept one hand on the controls, eyes focused ahead. He had taken secret paths through these skies before, paths with no patrols, no satellites, no eyes. Behind him, in the small back room of the ship, Layari sat cross-legged on the bed watching the wall. She hadn't said a word in hours. She hadn't cried either. She just sat, holding the small broken locket in her hands, like it was the last piece of her soul. Her eyes weren't afraid anymore, but they weren't alive either. They were far away, lost in some dark place. Eli checked the rear cameras again. No signs of the hunters yet, but he knew better. They wouldn't stop. Not when their pride was hurt, not when a human had stepped between them and their prey. Almost there, he called back. There's a safe place in the mountains, a hidden camp, old supply depot. No one but me's used it in years. Layari didn't respond. He sighed and left the cockpit. You should eat. He placed a small plate of fruit paste and water on the table next to her. She looked at it, then looked away. Eli sat across from her on a metal crate. You're not mute, he said calmly. You spoke earlier. Still no answer. Not speaking is fine, he added. But you gotta eat. Otherwise the medicine won't help. After a long pause, she picked up a fruit slice and bit into it. Slow, cautious, but she finished it. Then drank the water. Eli smiled a little. Good. See? Not all humans are monsters. She lowered her head. Still silent. Eli leaned back. You know, I wasn't always a wanderer. I used to have a home, family, even a daughter. That made her glance up. She got sick. The medics came too late. She was about your age. Layari didn't speak, but something changed in her eyes. A flicker of understanding, of pain shared. Eli stood and reached for a small device on the wall. He pressed a button, and a soft tune began to play. Not words, just music. Gentle, slow, like wind moving through the trees. Layari blinked. Her body relaxed just a little. My daughter used to fall asleep to this, Eli said. Every night. Thought maybe it might help you too. Layari closed her eyes for a moment. Then something small and unexpected happened, she whispered. She must have been happy. Eli froze. She had spoken. He didn't push. He simply nodded. She was. I made sure of it. The ship shook slightly. Eli quickly returned to the cockpit. His heart sank. Red lights flashed on the screen. A small signal pulsed behind them. Very faint, not a hunter drone. Something worse. A scout beacon, he muttered. They're sweeping the skies. He turned back to Layari. Hold on. We need to move faster. The ship dipped sharply, cutting through clouds. He pushed the thrusters harder. They raced above a river that glowed blue in the dark, then over cliffs where giant bird creatures flew in spirals. Finally, he saw it. An old hangar buried under vines and rocks. Half the roof had caved in, but the landing pad still worked. He landed quickly and opened the side ramp. Come on, he said. Layari followed him outside. The air was cold, thin, the wind sharp, but no drones, no hunters, only silence and wild nature. Eli led her inside the ruined hangar. He activated the hidden power core. Lights flickered on, dim but warm. He opened a storage room, revealing old supplies, blankets, tools, and a steel door to a deep underground shelter. This place was built in the old war, he said. They used it to hide refugees. No signals escape from here. We're safe. Liari stepped inside slowly. She touched the wall. It felt real. Solid. For the first time in days, she sat down not because she was weak, but because she wanted to. Eli handed her a new blanket. Tomorrow we can talk about what you want to do next. She looked up at him. I don't know what I want. That's okay, he said. You've earned time to figure it out. She curled up in the blanket. Before he walked away, she whispered again, Eli? He turned. Why are you kind to me? He paused. Because no one ever was when I needed it. She didn't reply, but for the first time her head rested on the pillow like she trusted it. Her breathing slowed, and as Eli sat nearby, watching the door and listening to the wind outside, he made a quiet promise. They would not take her again. Not while he was alive. The truth behind her chains. The sun barely touched the mountaintop. A soft orange light poured through cracks in the hangar roof, casting long shadows across the metal floor. Liari sat by the entrance of the underground shelter, hugging her knees, staring at the sky like she'd never seen it before. It had been quiet all night. No drones, no hunter footsteps, just wind and the distant cries of wild creatures. Eli stepped out from the inner chamber, holding 2 mugs. Steam rose from both. Morning tea, he said, offering one to her. She took it gently as if unsure it was real. One slow sip. Her lips twitched. It wasn't sweet, but it was warm. Thanks, she murmured. Eli sat beside her. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was peaceful, like something healing. Then she broke it. Do you want to know what they did to me? He looked at her, surprised. You don't have to. I want to, she said. I've never told anyone, not even my brother. Eli nodded once. He said nothing, just listened. Liari took a deep breath. Her voice was quiet but strong, like someone holding back a storm. In my clan, blood matters. Families are ranked by how pure their DNA is. The High Circle decides who gets to live in the capital, who gets education, even who's allowed to have children. She paused. My mother wasn't from the inner bloodline. My father hid that. When they found out, she was taken away. I never saw her again. I was 6. Eli clenched his jaw. My father lied to protect us, but lies don't last forever. They caught him, executed him publicly, then came for me and my little brother, Varro. Her eyes darkened. I tried to run, with him. We hid in the river tunnels, but he got sick, fever from the dirty water. I carried him for 3 days. He died in my arms. I didn't even have time to bury him. She pulled the broken locket from her shirt and opened it. Inside was a tiny glowing image. Varro's face, smiling, frozen in time. They caught me after that, she said. Stripped me, tagged me, said I would serve a greater purpose. I thought they meant labor. She looked at Eli now, her voice was bitter. But they turned me into sport. Eli looked away, hands gripping his cup tightly. That's not sport, he said. That's evil. Liari nodded. They put me in the jungle with a tracker and said if I made it out in 7 days I could live as an outcast. They even gave me a head start. Then they laughed. She took another sip of the tea, her hands no longer shaking. I lasted 6 days, that's when you found me. Eli let the words settle in the silence. Then he reached over slowly and took the locket in his hand. Your brother was lucky, he said. He had a sister who carried him. Liari blinked fast. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't cry. Not yet. There's something else, Eli added, standing up. I scanned that collar you wore. There was more than a tracker inside. It was sending data somewhere. Her body tensed. To who? I don't know yet. But whoever they are, they were watching. Not just your location, but your heart rate, stress levels, even brain activity. She looked sick. Like a science experiment. Worse, Eli said, like entertainment. He tapped his wrist screen. A hologram appeared. Lines of code, video feeds, alien writing. They were broadcasting you, he explained. Some dark market blood sport. Rich elites pay to watch. The hunt live. You weren't just running for your life, you were part of a show. Liari stood suddenly. Where's this feed coming from? Eli hesitated. I traced one signal. It's bouncing across star relays, but it began in the royal sector of the capital world. She stared at him. So the council knows. Or worse, Eli said. They are the ones watching. She felt her knees give in. She sat back down hard, stunned. All this time, I thought I was just being punished, but I was entertainment. Eli stepped closer. You don't have to hide anymore. I'll help you. We can bring this truth to the surface. No, Liari said. You can't. I can. He raised a brow. I know their rules. I know their lies. And now I know the truth. I'm going to make them see me. Her voice was no longer soft. It was fire. I will not be a hunted girl anymore. Eli smiled. Then let's plan something they'll never forget. The jungle fight. The wind in the jungle was sharp and fast, carrying the smell of rain and danger. Liari crouched in the underbrush, her fingers curled around a sharpened metal spike Eli had crafted from scrap. Her eyes were focused, no longer afraid. She moved like a shadow, low to the ground, silent between the trees. Beside her, Eli adjusted the trap wire strung between two roots. He nodded. They're coming. Liari didn't blink. Let them. They had spent the last 2 days preparing traps, decoys, hidden sensors. The hangar was no longer just a hiding place, it was a battlefield now. Eli had taught her to use tools, how to track by sound, how to spot heat signatures without being seen. She learned fast, too fast. It was as if her pain had sharpened her senses, and now the hunters had returned. Eli checked his wrist device. 4 heat signatures closing in fast. Liari spoke softly. The same ones? One of them is new, bigger. She narrowed her eyes. They brought a brute. That means they're serious. Good, Liari said, standing slowly. So are we. The first trap was simple. As the hunters crept through the outer jungle, one of them stepped on a camouflaged pad. A net of sharp wires shot up from the ground, slicing through his armor and pulling him into the air. He screamed. As blood sprayed, the others scattered. She's setting traps now? One snarled. Who trained her? I did. Eli's voice echoed from a speaker hidden in the trees. Welcome to the jungle. The second hunter tried to follow a heat trail, but it was a fake. Liari had placed a warmed-up blanket near the edge of a cliff. When he leapt toward it, the ground gave way and he fell into a pit full of jagged metal spikes. 2 down. The brute roared. He was 3 times Eli's size, covered in thick armor. His weapon was a plasma hammer. He stomped forward, smashing trees aside. Liari stood in his path, alone. Eli's voice crackled in her earpiece. Liari, fall back. No, she whispered. This one's mine. The brute laughed when he saw her. The prey wants to fight? How cute. She didn't speak. He swung his hammer. She dodged fast as lightning. The hammer struck the ground, causing it to crack. Liari ran up a tree, jumped, and threw a small energy mine directly onto his back. It beeped once, then exploded. The brute stumbled, smoke rising from his back. He turned and grabbed her by the neck, lifting her off the ground. I'll break you myself, he growled. But Liari smiled. You already lost. A soft beep echoed. Behind him, he turned his head. A trip mine sat at his feet, blinking red. Boom! The explosion knocked them both backward. Liari rolled, hit the dirt, and coughed hard. But she was alive. The brute didn't get up again. She crawled to Eli's position. He helped her sit up. You're insane, he said, half laughing. I'm free, she replied, wincing. He gave her a water flask. One more left. Liari's eyes burned. The leader. The final hunter moved carefully. He had seen the others fall. He wasn't like them. He was smarter, older. He knew Liari now. He had hunted her before when she was weak, crying, alone. He didn't expect her to stand between him and the exit. She looked calm. "I remember you," she said coldly. "You told me to run faster. It would make the chase more fun." He raised his weapon. "You were lucky once. That's over." But she didn't move. She just stared and smiled. Suddenly, Eli tackled the hunter from behind. They rolled in the dirt, fighting. The weapon flew out of the hunter's hands. Eli punched hard, but the hunter was strong. He threw Eli aside and pulled a hidden blade. He lunged forward, and then froze. A long, sharpened spike came through his chest. Liari had driven it straight through him. The hunter gasped, fell to his knees, and then collapsed. Eli looked at her, blood dripping from her hand. She dropped the spike. No more running. Later, they stood beside the smoldering fire pit in the jungle. The bodies of the hunters had been buried under debris and leaves. No signal, no trace, no rescue. Liari sat beside Eli. "They'll send more," she said quietly. "Maybe," Eli answered. "But not today." She looked up at the sky, bright blue, full of clouds and light. "This isn't over," she said. "No," Eli agreed. "But you're not prey anymore." She nodded. "Next time, I'll be the one they fear." And for the first time since the hunt began, Liari smiled, not with sadness, but with strength. The broken and the brave. The rain began to fall, slow, cold, and steady. Inside the old supply shelter, Liari knelt beside Eli, pressing a wet cloth to his forehead. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. He was burning up. The fight had left him with deep bruises and a small wound on his side. He'd said it was nothing, but now 2 days later infection had spread. His body, strong and stubborn, was breaking. "Hold still," Liari whispered. "I've been still too long," Eli said weakly, forcing a smile. "I should be fixing the shield array. I promised." She pressed her hand gently against his shoulder. "No. Rest now. It's my turn." He blinked up at her. "You're different." She nodded once. "I'm not the girl you carried out of that jungle anymore." He tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. Liari stood and walked to the small corner table, where old data pads and maps were spread out. She tapped the console, activating the power grid readout. The shelter's backup systems were failing. One more power drain and they'd go dark. The drones hadn't returned, but she knew someone was watching. Somewhere out there, the dark market viewers, the elites, maybe even someone on the council, were still hungry for blood, and she wasn't going to feed them. She tied her hair back, fastened Eli's old belt around her waist. She slid the small plasma knife he gave her into the side, then she walked back and sat beside him. "I'm leaving at first light." His eyes opened, startled. "What?" "I'm going to the nearest relay tower. There's a console there that links to the open galactic net. I'll send out the footage you recorded, the hunt, the collar, the live stream, all of it." "Too dangerous," he muttered. "They'll kill you before you get close." "I'm not asking," she said gently. "I'm telling you." He stared at her, silent. "I'll go alone. They won't expect it. And if they catch me, they'll just think I'm scared again." "But you're not." "No," she whispered. "I'm angry." At dawn she left. The rain had stopped, but fog now covered the ground like a ghost's breath. She moved fast, silent. The jungle no longer frightened her. She remembered every sound, every tree, every place where pain had taught her to survive. In her mind, she pictured Eli, still, sweating, alone. She would not fail him. The relay tower stood like a broken skeleton in the clearing, half buried in vines. The access door was jammed. She forced it open, slipping inside. Dust, darkness, rusted panels. She climbed the narrow metal ladder to the control room. It creaked under her weight. At the top, a single old console still had power. Barely. She sat down and connected Eli's recorder to the input port. The screen flickered to life. Video footage played. Her, running through the jungle. crying, bleeding. Then, the hunters laughing, talking, mocking, then Eli standing between them and her. She swallowed hard. "Time to show the truth," she said. She activated the emergency galactic broadcast code Eli had given her. The console buzzed. A red light blinked. Transmission active. She selected every file, every log, every clip, and hit send. The data shot into the stars, to the council, to the patrol fleets, to every public access terminal in 3 nearby systems. Let them see what they allowed. Let them see what they celebrated. And then, the screen blinked. Incoming transmission. Location, Royal Sector, viewing chamber. Status, live. She froze. A voice came through. "Well done, little runner," said a deep, cold voice. "You've made it farther than anyone before you." Liari didn't move. "You've become quite popular. The viewers admire your fire. The council, less so." "What do you want?" she asked, keeping her voice calm. "We offered you death. You rejected it. We offered you survival. You chose rebellion. That leaves only one option." A pause. "Return. Accept your role in the games. Or watch the human die." Her heart stopped. The screen flashed again. A live feed of Eli, unconscious in the shelter. A drone hovered over him. "No," she whispered. "You have 1 hour." The feed ended. She ran, faster than she had ever run before. Branches tore at her face. Her lungs burned. Her heart pounded like a war drum. She crashed into the shelter, mud on her face, eyes wild. Eli was still there, but now he was awake. Barely. "I'm sorry," she said, falling beside him. "They found us. They saw everything." He reached out and took her hand. "You did the right thing." "I won't let them take you," she said. "I won't." Eli's eyes slowly closed. Liari stood, staring at the shadows outside the door, her hands clenched into fists. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. And when they came, they would face not a hunted girl, but a warrior made from fire, loss, and truth. The protector and the free. The jungle was silent. Too silent. No birds, no wind, no life. Only tension. Liari stood at the doorway of the hidden shelter, breathing slowly, calmly. Her heart beat steady now, not with fear, but with focus. Behind her, Eli lay on the medbed, weak, but still breathing. His skin was pale and the wound on his side had opened again, but he was alive, and she would keep him that way. A faint buzz filled the air. She looked up. Drones, 3 of them, slid through the canopy like metal ghosts. One had a red lens glowing. In the center, it scanned the area, hovering just above the treetops. Then came the sound of boots. Heavy, slow, confident. The hunters had returned, but this time, not to chase. This time, they expected surrender. Liari stepped out of the shadows, straight into the open. She wore Eli's spare jacket, too large on her, but tough. Her hair was tied back with a torn strip of the old collar they had once chained her with. Around her neck, Varro's broken locket still glowed faintly. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She waited. From the trees stepped the one she feared most. Not the brute from before, not the sneering tracker, but a tall alien in silver armor. His mask reflected the sky. Behind him stood a second figure in dark blue robes, an official from the High Council. "We watched your message," said the robed one. "The council is, displeased." Liari didn't answer. "You've broken a sacred code. You leaked inner flood practices to the public. You shamed your own kind. You hunted children," Liari said coldly, "and turned their pain into entertainment." The armored one stepped forward. "You will come with us now, quietly, or the human dies." Liari looked past them. 2 more soldiers stepped from behind the trees, carrying a glowing sphere. Inside, the sphere was Eli. He had been taken. While she stood guard, they had circled behind, using cloaking to sneak in. She hadn't heard a sound. Eli was unconscious, suspended in stasis. Her heart froze, but only for a second, because in that second, she saw something they didn't. Eli's eyes twitched, just barely. He was awake, faking unconsciousness. Her lips twitched slightly, not a smile, just understanding. She raised her hands. "Fine," she said. "Take me." The soldiers stepped closer, but Liari's fingers tapped the bracelet on her wrist. Eli's old device, modified just for this. Boom! Flash grenade launched from a hidden panel in the trees, blinding the soldiers. At the same time, the ground beneath the lid guard cracked. Another trap. He fell into the pit with a shout. The drone's red eye locked onto Liari, but she was already moving. She leapt toward the stasis sphere and slammed her hand against its control panel. Release protocol accepted. The sphere opened and Eli fell into her arms. "I told you I'd keep you safe," she whispered. He coughed. "You call this safe?" The robed council official tried to flee, but Eli tossed a charge that landed at his feet. He froze, knowing one wrong step would set it off. Liari stood tall, facing the remaining guards. "Your game is over," she shouted. "The whole system saw what you are." The surviving drone flickered. Then, from the sky, a new ship appeared. Sleek, black, bearing the mark of the Intergalactic Patrol. A voice echoed from the ship's loudspeaker. "This is Commander Selen of the United Galactic Forces. Step away from the fugitives. The hunt has been declared a war crime." The guards hesitated. The robed man panicked. "You can't do this. She is property. She's an outcast." "No," said Liari, her voice steady. "I am no one's property." She took Eli's hand and stepped forward as the patrol ship landed and soldiers emerged. Real soldiers, not masked cowards. Hours later, in a clean medical ship, Eli lay on a real bed. IV lines in his arm, oxygen mask, but stable. Healing. Liari sat by his side wearing fresh clothes. Her hands were clean for the first time in weeks. She still held Varro's locket. A nurse passed, then stopped. "Miss Liari, they're ready for your statement." She nodded. Eli's fingers twitched. His eyes opened. "You did it," he whispered. She leaned close. "We did it," he smiled faintly. "What now?" She looked out the window. Stars drifted past like falling embers. "I don't know," she said softly. "But I want to live. Really live." Eli reached for her hand. "Then start with this. Come with me." "To where?" "Anywhere," he said. "We'll find a place that's quiet, safe, maybe even peaceful." She held his hand tightly. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe in peace. Because she was no longer hunted. She was no longer silent. She was free.